Hi guys, it's Robyn and welcome to my channel. So not too long ago I made a Huggy Wuggy cake for you guys, and I figured since you guys loved it so much and since the Poppy Playtime Chapter 2 release date is basically any day now, I thought it would be really fun to make a Kissy Missy cake to share with you guys. So this is what we're going to be making today. So let's get into it.
For today's cake, we're going to be using one lemony delicious cake sponge, which I've baked up into a 10-inch round. And I'm just going to quickly level this off and tort it into two separate layers so we can add some fun buttercream in between, because I like my cakes to be just as pretty on the inside as they are on the outside. But before we add any of that sticky buttercream, I want to take my cake and cut out the shape I need. So I've created this stencil just by drawing up an image on a piece of computer paper, and then I've cut it out so it fits on top of my cake nicely. Now I'm going to take a small serrated knife, and we're just going to use a very gentle sawing motion so as not to rip our cake to pieces. And we're going to carefully cut away any of the excess cake that we don't need. And these are just scraps, we won't need them later on, so you can discard them if you like, or you can have them as a little snack, but they also freeze beautifully, so you can maybe make cake pops later on. Because in my opinion, wasted cake is a tragedy. So once we finish cutting all those scraps away, the next thing we're going to do is take our stencil and mark off where the mouth is going to go, because we want to carve that out a little bit as well. So to do that, I'm just going to use my X-Acto knife to kind of mark it off onto the cake, and we should be able to see this fairly easily. And then we're going to take a serrated knife and we're just going to carefully carve it out a little bit and remove that excess cake away, being extra careful not to cut too deep because you don't want to go all the way through that top layer, because that's going to make moving the top layer of cake slightly more difficult. Because I really don't want my cake breaking when it's time for stacking and filling, which we're going to do next. So because we're going to be using a delicious lemon cake sponge, I wanted to make my buttercream filling flavorful and fun as well. So my yellow buttercream is actually flavored with a little bit of lemon extract, and my pink buttercream is flavored with a tiny bit of strawberry essence from Lorraine's Oils. I absolutely love this stuff, it's so tasty. So we should end up with sort of a strawberry lemonade sort of flavor, I'm hoping. So this should be absolutely delicious, and since I have two different colors, we're going to do some stripes in the center, so that way when we cut it open, it is going to be beautiful inside. And for anybody who may be interested, or if perhaps you're still looking for that perfect American buttercream, you have to try out my easy buttercream recipe, and I will leave a link for it in the description box down below so you guys can try it out if you like. So now that I've finished piping my stripes, I like to take my spatula and just carefully smooth it out a little bit. You want to push all that buttercream together and get rid of those air bubbles, because you don't want any gas bubbles forming in your cake. That could potentially create little air bubbles pushing out on your buttercream, and they can be difficult to fix at times. So this is a great preventative measure to take. And it also ensures a nice smooth surface for when we add our second layer of cake. So now that we've added our filling and assembled our cake, it's time for our crumb coat. And because I decided to go with a lemon cake and some flavors in the center, I didn't want the flavors to be overwhelming. So we're just going to go with the pink vanilla buttercream for our crumb coat, and I'm just going to use my offset spatula to carefully spread it out all over the top of my cake. And you want to make sure your buttercream is a little bit on the thin side so that way it spreads nicely, because you don't want it to start ripping apart your cake when it comes close to the edges or the parts where you've carved it already, because it can get pretty crumbly. But using the right tools will also help make the job a lot more easy. See, I like to use my small offset spatula to apply the large bulk to the main surface area, but when it comes to the smaller areas, I like to use a smaller, more flexible tool to really get into all those nooks and crannies. And as many of you already know, I like to make my own flexi smoothers. I just buy flexible cutting boards and I use my X-Acto knife to cut them to the shape I need. And as you guys can see, I have another one here, a larger one, which works great for frosting the sides of my cake. So we're just going to continue to frost all the way around until we've completely finished, and then we're going to clean up that outer edge a little bit and then pop our cake into the fridge to firm up in preparation for our final coat of icing. So once our cake has fully chilled and our icing is firmed up a little bit, we are going to do the mouth first and get that out of the way, because we're going to be using a little bit of black and that can get quite messy. But because we're working on a cold cake, the black should chill and set up fairly quickly. And inside the mouth here is actually another place where these flexi smoothers are going to come in super handy, especially up around the corners of the mouth. As you can see, I've made just a very tiny one with a round tip, and I'm just carefully spreading it and smoothing it out. And now once I have that black all filled in, we're going to start working on giving her that big toothy grin that everybody loves so much. And we're going to do that by rolling out a piece of white fondant extra thin, and then I'm going to use my X-Acto knife to cut out a whole bunch of tiny little sharp teeth, starting with some extra small ones lining the inside of her throat because she has 2 rows of teeth, and then we're going to make some bigger ones for that outer row of teeth around her gums. Now when it comes to the larger teeth, they're a little bit inconsistent in size. Some of them are larger and some of them are smaller, so we're going to make a bunch of different sizes and we're going to play with them a bit, and we're going to make them longer in the center, and they're going to slowly get smaller as they get closer to the corners of her mouth. And these teeth do not have to look tidy. Actually, the more messed up they look, the better. And you don't have to make sure they go right to the edge either, because we're going to be covering that edge up with some red lips in a little bit. And here's what they look like when they're finished. Positively horrifying if you ask me. But now it's time to give our monster her fur coat. Okay, so for this part I have filled an extra large piping bag with my vanilla American buttercream, and I've colored this with Wilton's Rose for anybody who's curious what color pink it is I'm using. I forgot to mention that before. And we're using a number 133 Atco piping tip to pipe this onto the side of our cake very carefully. You're going to press it to the side of the cake, give it a slight squeeze to secure, and then you're going to carefully pull away while releasing the bag. It's a very easy, swift motion, and it is a little bit difficult on the hand, so I would recommend a larger piping tip than what I'm using. However, this is all I have, so we'll have to make do with this today. And now once we finished our sides, we're going to start to fill in the top. And you're going to be careful not to go too close to the mouth because, like I said, we'll be adding some nice big ruby red lips later on. And we're also going to make her hair growth in sort of an upward pattern towards the tips of her head, because her head is a bit of heart shaped, and as you'll see, I've sort of made the hair part in the center and then grow towards the tip. So you're just going to very carefully drag your piping bag in that direction while you're piping. And now once you have that all filled in, it's time for those big ruby red lips I mentioned several times. So I've just filled up a piping bag with my bright red buttercream, and I've cut an extra large hole at the end, but you guys can use an extra large piping tip if you have one. It'll help make it look a lot better right from the get-go. And we're just going to carefully pipe this on all the way around. Then I'm going to use my little flexi smoothers to sort of go over it a little bit and smooth it out. Alright, so now that we have the mouth finished, we only have one thing left to do. We're going to give her those big googly eyes. So I've cut out 2 round pieces of white fondant, and I'm going to use some black gel food color and a very small paintbrush to paint on the pupils. And we're going to give her some fancy little fondant lashes, and then we can cut this cake open and see what it looks like inside. It smells so good, guys. I can't wait. Lemon is definitely one of my favorite flavors of cake, but what do you guys think? What is your favorite flavor, and do you guys like pink lemonade? Let me know down below. Maybe you guys can give me a little inspiration to flavor my next cake. Well, that's it for today, guys. I really hope you enjoyed the tutorial, and if you give this cake a try, I would absolutely love to see it. It would totally make my day. So hit me up on my Insta at therobinsnest83 or send me a photo to therobinsnest@hotmail.com. I can't wait to see it. And in the meantime, don't forget to like and comment, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell, and I will see you on the next video.